Since 1973, Tattoo Charlie's has been an established body modification studio in Kentucky, featuring world-renowned artists and piercers, currently with locations on Preston Highway and in Lexington, a staple point in the tattoo community. Learn more at tattoocharlies.com. Set up your appointment today at 7904 Preston Highway. Our tattoos are done while you wait.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel, anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is and always will be Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I am your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road. What's going on, Metalheads? Thank you all for tuning into the Metal Forge. It is Friday, September 25th. A few days ago. Happy Equinox. Today I've got Ryghar on the show, which is a fucking awesome barbaric heavy metal band from Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, as they say, and this is about as big as it fucking gets, dude. Like, seriously. Pleasure to talk to. Had about a 2.5 hour conversation that I got to whittle down to about an hour. Hope you all dig it. It's awesome shit. Maybe in the future there'll be some like outtakes, some deleted scenes kind of stuff. We'll see how that goes. Before I get to the interview with him, I do want to thank you to Jeff and Mark from Mom's Music and Maxwell's House of Music in the Louisville, Kentucky, Jeffersonville, Indiana area. Thank you all so much for the sponsorships of the shows. You heard the commercials at the beginning. Go to momsmusic.com, go to maxwellshouseofmusic.com, check out the deal of the day and Gear 30 respectively, and send them a line. Tell them what you want. Tell them what you're looking for. They can order it for you. They can ship it to you if you're not in the area. They can do whatever you want them to do. But seriously, let them know what gear you want. You want a bubblegum pink Charvel San Dimas? I know somebody who's got one. I doubt he'll give it up. But anyways, if you want one, fucking talk to them. Seriously, because they're awesome people. Check out Howard. Check out Mike at the stores. Everybody else, Brooks, Bobby, Bert, Vince, everybody. Check them out. Because they're here for you. Get whatever you want. I do also want to throw out, you may have heard at the very beginning of the show, there's a few more ads coming up through the Anchor app. And yeah, I did record some because it matters. Getting your ass out there and voting on November 3rd is what matters. And I want everybody to not take those ads lightly. Seriously, look up where your polling locations are. Get out there, change the course of history. If you're not happy with the leadership in this country, you have a voice. You can change whatever we need to change in this country. Seriously. Democracy is not dead. That's bullshit. And I think deep down we all do know that. We can topple the system if the system is fucked. And I think you all know that too. Anyway, enough of that. You heard the ads. Seriously, check that stuff out. Don't forget, send me your questions, send me your band submissions, and so on and so forth. metalforgeradio@gmail.com or at the website metalforgeradio.com. About halfway down the page, you can submit the questions and stuff through there. Because the interview is going to be about an hour long and the song coming up is a little over 6 minutes, I want to keep this a little bit short and sweet. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. I love each and every one of you, and we are taking over the world. Got big news for next week, so pay attention to the Facebook page, pay attention to the Instagram page at Metal Forge Radio on both of those. Smash the like and subscribe and share buttons on there. And so, this is the single from Thermesia Eternal from Ryghar. This is In a Land Where the Sun Never Sleeps. All right, metalheads, and I am being joined on the line right now from Ryghar Highwind from the band Ryghar. Oh my gosh, dude. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
I am fantabulous. You know, it's been one of these weeks here for me where it's been kind of cool weather. And I know you're in Texas and everything, so it's never really cool weather or anything in Texas. And
no.
I mean, it's always hot as balls. But
spiciest state in the United States for sure.
Right. And see, you know, we go through the problem here. I know it's like always August for you for most of the year there. We go through we'll have May, August, and a little bit of a fall, and then it goes straight into cold weather. So it's been a nice, you know, little bit of a different feel because we've actually had some fall weather going on, which is pretty cool. So
definitely, I actually busted out my long sleeve for the first time today. One of them, I was like, it's not 90 degrees, so that counts as winter, or at least the 2 weeks of fall that we get here.
Right.
Yeah. And then an off and on period of time where every day that you bring a jacket, it's hot, and then every day you leave the jacket at home, it's insanely cold.
Now, what part of Texas is Ryghar from?
Oh, we're actually from a few places around. I initially am from Houston, but I moved to San Antonio about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. The core of the band, most of us are here in San Antonio now. We had some collaborators early in the project who are from Houston as well, and our keyboard player lives in Denver, so he's in Colorado. And our drummer is north of Fort Worth area. He's out there.
Wow. But, so yeah, you all are kind of all over the map.
Oh yeah, I think it was more important rather than finding people who were there because I mean we're all adults so we can travel now. It's not like when we were teenagers. It was finding the right people, finding the right people who not only could play the parts, were into that kind of music, but had great creative output. Maybe they had a repertoire, were familiar with the kind of things that we were shooting for. And right. Like I said, it's definitely something you want to look for people who are very self-motivated, and we've been lucky with that. So
definitely. And, that's the thing these days. I've come across so many different bands from all over the globe on the show here where they might have a member that lives in Chicago, and then they have one that lives in Colorado Springs, and they have one that lives in LA and one in Indiana. And,
oh, yeah.
The farthest stretch that I've actually had was a guy who was in Nottingham, United Kingdom, with another guy who was a singer in Phoenix.
Oh, great.
And it was so cool because they had never spoke on the phone. They had only messaged each other through Facebook. And the first time they ever spoke on the phone was on this show.
Oh, wow, that's great.
So,
we actually haven't met with the drummer in person. The way the project started was when I moved to San Antonio. I had a psych rock band back in Houston, and we just finished the album. They were moving on to another project. I was moving out here. So actually, most of the writing and engineering was done by me. And I just kind of I started figuring out how to use some of the engineering software. But because I've always felt like the whole don't talk about it, be about it. So I was like, if I want to start this kind of band, I can't wait until I find other people who have similar tastes, and then we'll write songs. So I just went ahead and, hammered out a quick demo on my own. I programmed some drums to it because we didn't have a drummer yet. And went around talking to other, metalheads that I met, people who play, and hey, check this out. It's a lot of oh, cool, that's neat, bud. But, I met Kyle. Kyle's our bass player. Kyle's actually, Mike, our rhythm guitar player, and our new lead guitarist, Devin, are actually all in a group here in San Antonio. It's a thrash group called Black Jackal. Really, really fantastic band. Bunch of hardworking, awesome dudes who just tear it up. And, they've already got a few, releases under their belt. So I guess when Kyle kind of saw how motivated I was, and we both share some crossover with loving that kind of heavy metal and the 80s, of course. And he was like, this seems fun. So we started working on some of the tracks, and Bob from Legions of Metal approached us about playing what was supposed to be this May, but will be there next May in 2021 for playing the headline day there. So, it's kind of lining up of the stars there. We got these guys from Black Jackal who they're working on their projects, and out of the woodwork, JD, our drummer, approached us because he'd been following the page, and he was just like, "Hey, this is a long shot, but do you have a drummer yet?" And the person I had set up to work on the project was just a session guy, and I kind of wanted to have someone I could invest more time in. I actually wanted to, because I mean, having other projects, and we're not typically like one of those bands. Like, one of our goals isn't to be, playing down at the dive bar every weekend. I mean, I've been playing music for 13, 14 years. So is everyone else. So we're like, hey, we're really focused on making some really interesting releases for people. But then, like I said, play a festival, have a fun performance where you're going for a day's worth of maybe this niche genre and there's fantastic ones popping up. I mean, like I mentioned, Legion, Hell's Heroes in Houston's great. I mean, they're all over the place. And,
there's tons of festivals. Blades of Steel up in Wisconsin, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Metal Immortal Festival, Deb from Lady Beast. Yeah. Hell yeah, there's tons of independent promoted festivals that are popping up everywhere.
Yeah, we just heard about Northeast Dungeon Siege. So the label who's going to be releasing our cassette is Rot Records from Chicago. Like rot, like it's rod of iron, not like, oh, I'm rotting. But
right.
Yeah, I was like looking, and I've always loved, dungeon synth and like the more ambient kind of side of that stuff. I love the draw to it. Being a fan of video games and tabletops when I was a kid, of course, like the immediate like Tolkien-esque or Dungeons and Dragons vibe always gets me.
Definitely.
So, they're talking about going out to this festival, and it was super great. Because that genre of music, it kind of worked out. Most of the artists who were supposed to play that festival before the lockdown were able to do, online shows, which it's never as much fun. But I mean, there's a running joke with friends of mine. I was like, oh, well, that's like, they call it like basement black metal or bedroom black metal, where it's like one person with their grainy forest pictures, but they write this really cool stuff sometimes on analog synthesizers. And it's got its own very dedicated following. So it's cool, like watching these dudes in cloaks, like in their apartments or houses around the world, just like ripping these epic, like dark ambient dungeon synth or black metal projects. And then like watching all the people in the chat watching it and just really enjoying it. So, I think fans of music we try to find a way no matter what.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I had a friend tell me one time, and this is somewhat relatable to this, is, I've always wanted to make like a short film or a film of some type. And my excuse was like, well, I don't have a good enough camera or some shit like that. If you are extremely passionate about what it is that you do, you will find a way no matter what.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
I
said, when I started this project, I had never sat behind the board and tried to engineer anything. And by no means do I think my own self-taught, humble, like at-home skills for getting this premiere release together are anything compared to like people with, formal educations or just a lot more experience than me, which I look forward to working with them on the future releases. But that was the thing, is like, it's the same person who spent all those times writing riffs when I was a kid and starting my first bands and metal bands, or even playing with groups that wasn't necessarily a genre I wanted, but I just loved music and I wanted to try it. And then I just took that, and luckily nowadays with the internet and YouTube, I mean, the hard part is learning the question to ask, but once you know what to ask, some guy has already made 10 videos on it, and you can just sit there and, then it really is like, how hard are you willing to work? Because the information's available.
Definitely.
And the people are out there too. You just gotta, back in the day, you'd go flyering and, hang around the record store, wait till somebody with a cool jacket came in, hand them a flyer, go to the show, and you're hanging out for the extra 30 minutes while the drunks are spilling out and handing out pins and flyers. And I mean, the internet saw a lot of that go away. I feel like there's not so much of that. You see the same 5 faces at every show because y'all just go to all the shows. But the funny thing is, now that group has just expanded. I mean, I'll run into people in different states, and I'm just like, hey, didn't I see you at this festival or that show? And, they go chasing it around. Same with the online community. And, you'll attract those people, I guess, from the building a band side of it, or just the fans. I discovered I had a fan send me an email. This was before, any of our premiere, anything. So most of the stuff I've kept pretty tight-lipped, wanting to have a nice solid release. And he's like, hey, you're in this magazine here, and I had him translate it, and it was like a completely different language. I think it was German, and it's just a little blurb about the demo. But they had a metal writer in there who cruises the forums, and I guess came across some of those really nasty demo tracks that I had out originally, and they were just like, this is really cool. So as he's translating it, there's apparently a slang term that they use because they, for the most part, hate like drum machines. These humping robot drums need to go. And I was like, let them know we got a real drummer now. Because I was like, of course, I want to hear that momentum in the music too from a real drummer.
Oh yeah, but, there's nothing else like it. That's the thing. Yeah,
I was a little floored by that though. It's just, me and my friends would do that too. We're pouring through the lyrics of one of our favorite releases or something. I'm like, when he talks about this is actually from the second album where they talk about cutting that dude's head off. That's the axe that did it or something, and that comes from same, like, we're younger with tabletops and RPGs and video games and just kind of getting into the lore. Lore is a really important part of Ryghar and the music. And there's a whole thing written. I think we might be releasing a collection of short stories, if not with the initial release, in between that. And we have several other releases.
That's awesome.
Some splits. Yeah. So, and it's just things that I feel like essentially the thing that I love the most about heavy metal and about, especially like this little part of it is it's the telling of a story. You go to the show, they might be up there with spikes and chains and what have you and look like wild animals, and they're telling you this like crazy story that happened. And that's always been something that just was awesome. It's like on a Friday night, you drink just enough that you're not too drunk. And it's like you're in a whole nother place with this great music, high energy, telling you a great story. And that's what we all kind of came together with this idea, is something transformative.
As I was talking with Tucker from Throne of Iron a while back.
Yeah, man, I hope he gets better soon. Tucker's a great guy.
Yeah, shout out to him. He is an awesome cat.
Yeah, Throne of Iron rules.
It's one of those things where it's like, it can't just be death and heavy all the time kind of thing. Sometimes you do need that palate cleanse of
exactly
a Ryghar or a Throne of Iron or, something different than just all metal all the time. All of that.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
I like that it kind of is, it doesn't necessarily, you could take it as far as making fun of itself, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. That's what you see more with the new waves. I like that. I read an interview, I think it was with Jason from Eternal Champion. He was talking about being a kid, going to these hardcore shows because he loved hardcore, and then looking all crazy at him because he had long hair, and then, going to the metal shows, and the old heads were like, get out of here, hardcore kid. I have friends who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s who are metalheads or hardcore dudes, and, up until, like, Speak English or Die, I was like, no crossover there. Like, they're always fighting each other, trying to kick each other's asses and shit. And
oh yeah,
I identify with that. Like, playing metal and then hardcore, or even like some, I guess, like hardcore punk stuff that I did when I was a teenager. And crossover wasn't there. There's assholes in anything cool. There always are. But I kind of identify with that. I remember going and watching him with Iron Age, like when he was singing for. They opened for Jerry's Kids, I think, at Walters on Washington Street. And if there's any Houstonians listening, they know how old that is.
Right.
That was a while back. But, seeing that and hearing that, and, the cool part was, like, when I went to go see him, and then watching, like, this dude up there waving a sword around. I'm, like, talking about heavy metal stuff with this really beat-down stuff, R.I.P. Wade on guitars, man. That guy riffs it. And I'm, like, watching these dudes, and I was like, cool, they're like me. They like it all. But, not so to the point where I'll just listen to practically anything, but, I like this and that, but at the same time, it's like, you've seen so many, like, it's kind of like rap rock groups, like, don't mix the two. They're better.
They're better separate.
Yeah.
Right.
Not everything is peas and carrots, you can't mix it all, but, it's really interesting seeing, talking to Tucker about the work that he did on Throne of Iron, and just really incredible. It's always kind of the same story, They wanted you go through this period where they're like, holy crap, look at all this great metal. I'm so glad I'm into it. I need more. Maybe you start looking through the old stuff and you're discovering, first or second wave British bands, and hopefully you find cool stuff like Manila Road, and you're going, and unfortunately, with Mark passing too, you eventually reach, this was all they wrote back then. And you're just like, well, shit. Then those people are kind of like me, kind of like Tucker, and we're like, I want to write some shit. Right. And now there's new stuff, and there's new stuff popping up everywhere. I swear Canada's going through like this like speed metal revolution that's just blowing my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
You throw a rock somewhere there and either hit Sasquatch or like an amazing like rip it up band. There's all sorts of like Jeff from Gatekeeper. He's awesome. He actually did a track on our upcoming release.
Nice.
Under Uncloaked. Yeah, he did an ambient track, and Iron Kingdom's up there and it's like blasting out 3-part harmonies. It's like, when's the last time you heard like a DIY metal band doing that? Just really stepping the bar up. And what I love about it is kind of the same thing that I try to do with my music. My album's not out there to kick anybody's ass or anything like that. It's like, this is our love letter to heavy metal. We wanted to write some songs that we thought were neat. We're like
right.
Having a good time doing it,
Because, that's an unjust thing that kind of happens especially in music in general, no matter what it is, if it's, the pop scene or the country scene or even the metal scene and rap and so on and so forth, is a lot of people believe that there's a competition here. I try not to subscribe to that. I might not play the same music in my personal band as you or Throne of Iron or Wraith or Spell or anybody like that. But I would love to play shows with all of you because, because it's all about, I guess what turns you on as a musician.
Yeah. I think we can all thank Rob Halford and Judas Priest. I mean, since they're already like metal gods, I don't think you need to do that. Just have fun writing your thing. They already did it. You're never going to be cooler than Judas Priest, though.
Right. Because you're just not.
Yeah.
They'll kick your ass.
But it's the same thing you're talking about. It's I never think of it at a competitive scale. And well, to touch back on, things we've talked about with, they're like, guess what? Lars Ulrich ate for lunch. Another one that was like, Taylor Swift had a record that passed up Metallica's whatever record. And everyone's like arguing in the comments. They're like, she's so fake and shut up. Nobody listens to that band anyways. Nobody's even heard of Metallica. And everyone's incorrect in this. But
right.
It's like, I'm looking there and I was like, what do y'all hope to accomplish? And then I think about these metal news. I'm using air quotations, which you can't hear because it's a podcast or see them.
Right.
But, and it's like their easy go-to is like, get the old head. He's going to get out of his truck after listening to Sirius XM, sit down at his compact Presario he still has working and see that Taylor Swift beat Metallica at album sales. And he's just going to be like, no! Metallica's better because you can always get that you're cooler because you listen to metal out of that type of person.
Right. And where I've tried to feature
fruit.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's that thing of constantly making an effort to. It's almost like the Facebook thing where you see so many negative posts on there. I don't necessarily want to say the term thought provoking as more as it is emotion provoking comments.
Oh yeah, you're getting knee-jerk reactions. And
right.
It's all about echo chambers and identity politics. Like, I like metal, so of course something might raise my hackles, but then I'm like, that doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect the things I like. Like, I just, it's, the internet's definitely a double-edged sword. Swords are cool. But in the sense that, wow, you can, like, some Japanese teenagers across the world can hear your song 30 seconds after it's out, instead of having to discover it years later, send off to some oblique, like, European record company and hope it makes the travel.
Right.
So there's that part.
Like when I was a kid.
Yeah. And then there's, like, the big echo chamber of fart noises. And a lot of times people will try to, I guess, create themselves as, like, like a goblin king of shit mountain using those things, and we've seen it a lot with, like, I guess the internet equivalent of gotcha journalism or things like that. And meanwhile, we're all over here like, I just wanted to hear that new song. Like, I don't care about what the guitarist of this band said about this dude's fat girlfriend.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's like you don't care about their politics, you care about their music.
And not even necessarily that. I mean, I try to be as socially conscious as anybody with, values and integrity should be. But at the same time, I don't go looking to them as role models. I mean, that's neither here nor there typically with what that, like I said, we're always kind of the thing me growing up was, there weren't like oh, look, here's a bunch of cool heavy metal. Like, me and my dorky friends are playing tabletops or video games or riding our bikes and, like, listening to Priest or Motorhead. And people are like, why are you listening to that? Not like we're some super cool dudes, but if you're playing an RPG about killing dragons, you want to listen to something that sounds like you would kill dragons too, I imagine. I was talking to a friend about this, and I was like, man, do you ever think, like, what if, Dio definitely, I feel like, was really, really big in bringing that to the forefront of, like, this theatrical, very fantastical setting.
Yeah, fantasy metal.
Music and, and, of course, he grew up, listening to, like, Zeppelin talk about stuff like that. And, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of, like, psych rock and, like, proto metal that probably I am not familiar with. You might know, because you were around during these times.
And, I see how you are.
I'm not calling you out like that. I'm just saying, like, I go looking for these things.
I'm not
like,
that
I love
old.
It. But, and they brought that into there. It's like, imagine the aesthetic otherwise. Like, it would just be this completely different thing. Nobody, like Amon Amarth wouldn't be playing a giant, inflatable dragon. They'd be, like, I don't know, fighting, like, a crazy, like, I don't know, collapsible robot orangutan or something. It could be something completely different.
Right.
And but all these elements kind of fell into place to what is now, like, to some people, this is the rule. You do not bend. You do not break. I want my metal like this and nothing else. They say as they slick their mullet back and hop in their El Camino.
Right.
Pop Painkiller into the fucking tape deck and do donuts out of the parking lot.
Oh, my gosh. Things in a simpler time, huh?
Hell yeah.
No.
I mean, like I said, man, I wouldn't be surprised if that's happening right now in Canada.
Right.
But just, like, way more politely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's...
They're wonderful people, though. Like I said, Jeff managed to help me so much, and I just casually dropped, hey, would you like to do a track for this? He liked the mythos, and he dropped a track that's going to be featured on our album. Talking to Zach from Skullfist and Johnny came through, opening. Well, he was playing rhythm guitar with Enforcer, and I forgot the name of the other band that was there, but just cool dudes. And literally, we just buy them a beer and hang out. And they'll talk guitars, talk albums with you, talk records with you, and that's really what I love about metal. A bunch of dorks like me get into a room and we talk about cool shit that we like.
Yeah, because that's what it's about.
Yeah, and then you see some cool dudes up there, like, fucking ripping it up, and it's a good time, nothing but high fives and good vibes. Like, I went to the last Cells Heroes before I moved from Houston. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely some people tossed out, just maybe way too drunk, but, there's none of this, like, hate moshing, kicking people's heads in the bathroom kind of stuff, which I've seen some pretty gross shows like that, but, there's just a bunch of drunk heavy metal people fucking having a blast there, supporting the shit out of bands, big or small, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the cool things about Bandcamp these days, because you can find so many independent musicians like yourself, Spell, my band is on there. There's so many cool independent bands that that's like you were talking about a minute ago. One of the good things about the internet is being able to find these bands without having to, look through some catalog and say, well, that name sounds cool.
Yeah, and you can see the album art. It's almost like digging through the stacks of extra steps, The fact you get to listen to it first, I always talk to my bass player and Mike, the rhythm guitarist, who are very, very big Frazetta fans. So, I'll go into a used bookstore and buy a paperback just because I'm like, oh, there's Frazetta, or, oh, hey, there's Michael Whelan. Big fan of the artwork, too. So I was like, isn't it funny? Because I've definitely bought albums, but I was just like, all right, I had like $30 left in my you can only spend this much at the record store fund.
Yes.
And I was like, this looks sick. I'm just going to try it. Worst case scenario, make sure you don't damage it and you can trade it to somebody somewhere down the line or something at a swap. But I definitely bought albums like that. I'm just like sitting here and I'm telling Kyle this. I was like, I'm surprised I didn't end up owning everything by Molly Hatchet.
I know. Oh my gosh. You read my mind completely.
Yeah. Visually, some of the most impressive, like,
man, Molly they're all Frazetta covers.
They have Hatchet in the name. Yeah, they have Hatchet in the name. You're like, dude, this is gonna rip. You're like, imagine it's gonna be some like nasty, jagged riffs coming across. Maybe like kind of like how the New York metal scene is or something. You pop it in, and it's just like slow jam and good times.
Right.
You're just like
flirting with disaster.
Yeah, flirting with disaster, not causing it. I came here for causing disaster.
Right. That was one of my...
After that, Kyle just kind of like grins and he's like, I'd literally buy every Molly Hatchet album I find because the cover artwork, unless he already owns it, of course. You don't need doubles of that. But,
no.
For the same reason, he's like, buys them because he's like, yeah, the cover art's amazing. And he's a big collector of artwork and prints and things like that too. And, you know, it's not necessarily always a part of it or necessary at all, but there's a certain aesthetic that goes with this cool, fantastical thing. It has to do with amalgamation. I mean, like being into the things I'm into, you know, I study Western ceremonial magic, and as an artist by trade, you create a space where you can create with things, and kind of with the music, you try to do that too. I like to create this world where I can tell you really crazy stories, because you're not going to find that, you know, 10 miles outside of San Antonio, Texas, even though Robert E. Howard was from this area, apparently based the hills of Samaria off of the, you know, the way it looks locally here. So that's always interesting. You look out across the vista and you're like, cool, Conan.
Right. I always think that Molly Hatchet is theft by deception.
Hey, yeah, because I mean, once you have the record, you already have it. And they're like, whatever. We took that dude's money.
Yeah, because it's like you think that it's going to be something like Rainbow or
exactly.
Dio, and it's gonna, but it's just like
you open it up, you put it on the table, and you're like, here comes the black magic, and then it comes across as like, you know, dad rocking it to the max. I mean, I'm not ditching on Molly Hatchet.
No,
like in the comments, I can just imagine fans are like, hey, fuck you, your band sucks. Molly Hatchet rules. I'll fight you. Like. It's great stuff, but yeah, you definitely go in expecting like more of an edge or like, you know, something like maybe even like a medieval steel vibe or something, you know. And it's like you throw this on and it's like, oh, this is not what I expected. You're like, maybe that's just like their fun like hit, and you keep going through the record and you're like, no, it's all just like this laid back cruising type of dad rocking.
Right. The funny thing about this is. The funny thing about having this conversation is this constantly comes up. So it's almost like a running, it's almost like a running gag on the show but it's not. That's the thing. It's, you know, like, everything comes up. I'm just going to give you your
$1 million idea. You need to have an anniversary episode where you get with all of us. Each of us has to do a cover of a Molly Hatchet song.
Oh, I don't know if I can handle it.
But here's what we do. Instead of the awesome cover art by Frazetta, we do the opposite. We go find somebody who did like cover art for like Eddie Money or, you know, Rupert Holmes. There's a picture of all these metal dudes in like turtlenecks next to like a window, and there's like a beach scene outside.
Oh gosh.
There's your $1 million idea.
Molly Hatchet's greatest hits as performed by
a bunch of fucking metal idiots. It's awesome.
Oh my gosh. They've already got my money.
Just imagine.
They've already got my money once.
The opposite would happen. Yeah. Like this dude, he's got gray hair, he's all salt and pepper. He's probably maybe at like a half price books or somewhere going through the used records. His tasteful ponytail pulled back behind him. He's maybe got an hour or two to kill before he's got to go teach bass lessons at the youth center. And he looks and he picks it up and he sees all these cool looking dudes in Hawaiian shirts and turtlenecks. And he's like, these guys might know how to put the funk on the box. And he takes it home and it's a bunch of heavy metal. And he's like, what the fuck?
Oh, I almost feel personally attacked. You said he's going to go give bass lessons.
Hey man, there's something wrong with that. But I always feel like that's what they do. And you know, he probably,
I'm a bass player.
His wife has him, yeah, his wife has him have his record player, and he's got his bass up on the wall and like a djembe, like one of those little hand drums in his office. And that's where he's allowed to still be rocking, dude, because outside of there, he's got to be dad.
Yeah.
He's got to go. So he's like, Karen's asleep. She doesn't know I twist up a pinner. Time to light this bad boy and drift away to paradise. Boom, here comes Night Cobra covering Flirting with Disaster.
That's
his
awesome.
wife divorces him. Yeah. He comes on a quest for vengeance for all of us. Boom, that's an album in itself. He becomes known as the Molly Hatcheter.
Oh, wow.
Kills us all with a hatchet for ruining his life.
If Christian is listening to this episode, you need to do that, dude.
Absolutely.
The
dude whips his Oakleys off, and he's like, "You son of a bitch! You got blood and guts all over my $500 Tommy Bahama shirt."
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called The Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is The Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
You know, I want to ask you some questions here. So you do have something
Absolutely.
coming out soon.
Yes, by the time this comes out, the premiere of our single, we have a lyric video coming out on the new wave of traditional heavy metal full albums, which most people who listen to the genre, we're all subscribed to that channel because you find out about all sorts of cool new stuff.
Yes,
we've got a single
much.
coming out there. We decided to, so this has all been a very DIY thing, like all of us doing it, all of us paying for it, like everything from, you know, some of the artwork, our album art was done by the amazing Jerry, I don't know how to pronounce his Greek last name, but it was like Hoinis. He's known for doing, he did the Sleeping Eye for Iron Age, but he's done 2 variant covers for the release that it'll be coming out this winter. It's called Thermesia Eternal.
Nice.
So we've been driving all this up, and, you know, we wanted to release a single. Some of our friends are like, "Hey, where's the music at?" And I was like, "Okay, cool. Here's the single. You guys can listen to it." But also we're going to have some t-shirts out, but all the stuff we sell there, that's going to go towards us pressing these vinyl and cassettes. So
absolutely,
we're very excited. Yeah, we're very excited to give people, you know, their first steps into this kind of world and hear the stories and, you know, enjoy the music, because, I mean, we've got a lot of material we'll be working through in the next year to present some other tales and ancient tomes and cool fantasy settings.
Definitely. You definitely need patches too.
Oh yeah. We've got those in the works as well. Kyle collaborates with a few of the companies, and I actually personally made one of the designs for it. And it's gonna be cool.
Nice.
So I mean, right up the alley of the other things. But by the time this posts, if you go to our Bandcamp, you should be able to check out the T-shirts. You can download the single. I'm including I don't know if Bandcamp's gonna get mad at me if I say this, but a free download code of the single if you buy the shirt. So
I don't think that they would.
I don't think so either. I don't think we're important enough for them to care.
You know, but, I mean, I think they're just...
as much as I want to give it to people, like, we also got to get ready for this actual releasing, like, a really high quality product. Like, don't worry, the actual end mix and master will be sent off. Like, I've been collaborating. It's Mockingbird Studios has been working with our drummer since he's up north for tracking some of the things. We have a lot of friends featured on this album. Like, cause when it started out with just me, I'm not the most proficient player, and there's a lot of things that kind of call for a high ceiling on the skill wise if you want to really give them that heavy metal, you know? So I got a friend, we were supposed to record our drummer before the stay at home order here in Texas, and that came into place. So of course we couldn't travel to him and record him. So I had a friend, he's in a band called Night and Gallow. They're really great too if you like traditional metal. They're from I believe San Francisco. They're from California. I know that much. And I'd done a couple of album arts for them. Like I did an original logo, and then I also was the one who did their most recent demo. I think it's called Men of the West. It's a cool awesome. Sci-fi warrior raising his sword and space and planets and all the good stuff we like. But when they heard that we couldn't record and we were going to miss our initial deadline for what was going to be a demo, which I'm happy now because now it's going to be a full album release. But Ryan, their drummer, really stepped up. You know, he was like, "Hey man, I can hammer out these tracks for you since you've been helping us." So he'll be featured on many of the tracks actually, and you know, and then our drummer will be on some. My friend Joey Vetta, he did leads on the songs that you'll be showing, and he's just really cool old friend. Grew up in the '80s with heavy metal. Fantastic player. So, you know, it's just hey, I got this song. And he's like, I'll be on it. So, I mean, we even have a solo by Olaf from Enforcer on one of the songs. I'm not going to say which one, but when it comes out, you'll know.
Definitely. And seeing that's what we said a minute ago. It's all about the camaraderie and not competition.
And see, I love the people making comps. Like, I loved collecting compilations back in the day. But, like, especially the ones where, like, you wait, like, the extra 45 seconds of silence, and then it's, like, the two bands covering one of each other's songs. Or even, like, maybe they came together and wrote a song. And you saw a lot of that in punk and hardcore and stuff. And, you know, they'd even do covers of other bands. Like, famously, like, punk always, like, covering, like, old rock and roll songs. And just a bunch of really great stuff. And there's metalheads who listen to both. But what I'm seeing a lot more and I'm really liking is you're getting splits, you're getting collaborations. I mean, there's a great Gatekeeper and Eternal Champion split a few years ago where Eternal Champion covered Awakened by Dawn and what was the other one? I forgot, but I used to have that
right on
CD, and it was fantastic split. But it's great too because it's friends coming together, putting out music, and you know these guys are in the States, those guys are in Canada. Now each of their fan bases get something new to hear too when they're just collecting, you know, their favorite bands. So we actually have some plans with Jeff to do some things with Encloaked, hopefully later on in the winter. But we're really focused on our initial release right now, the Thermesia Eternal.
Very much so, which you did get to hear a little bit of earlier, and we are going to debut a new song.
Yes, this will be a sneak preview that only Metal Forge listeners get to hear.
Ooh, that's right.
Yeah.
See, that's how it works around here. We get to debut new stuff too. So
that's the most fun, man. That's why I like tuning in.
Definitely. So let's get it. A little bit of a profile question on you. You've pretty much given me the rundown of awesomeness of the band and everything and how you do what you do. So that's always a plus. But let's hear about, you know, you as a person. Do you have a favorite film?
Favorite film? Oh man. I really like things that kind of combine, I guess, like I said, you know, like really powerful soundtrack with, you know, one of the great things about film is you get moving imagery to combine with sound, with music, with a story. I always thought that, you know, Clockwork Orange was great. I mean, just the whole play off of, you have this classical music, you have a decaying, you know, post-World War II England where the youth is rotting from the inside out because, I mean, something similar we deal with. You know, the dream that their parents were selling of, you know, their little sedan at the end of their cul-de-sac parked in front of their home. That's just simply not the option for them anymore. They turned to almost like a street gang mentality, like a bunch of jackals attacking each other. And meanwhile, the soundtrack is this a combination of really, really great soundscapes with synthesizers, and which I love synthwave and things like that. It's great. And then you have, of course, like, you know, the classical music.
Definitely.
It's just so interesting because people think of classical music and they just think of this stuffy thing. But I mean, as much as most metalheads like to think that they approach metal from a classical point of view, and there are those who do. I'm not criticizing the like Juilliard graduates who like write fucking amazing metal, but more pop music. But these guys are like, you know, the layers that are in Beethoven are incredible. I was a percussionist for years throughout school, so you know I get to play classical music, and you know, learning things about dynamics and stuff are important. Like you said, if you just go heavy and serious all the time, it gets boring. So it's important to, you know when to pull it back and hit them even harder with it, or things like that. But that's a film that I really like.
Absolutely.
Like, Clockwork Orange. And another one that hits that same nail in the head, had Tom Hardy. It was Bronson. Great movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was about that really violent British prisoner. And I'm just trying to think of things. It's like, you know, of course there's amazing movies that we all watch, but those are some that I really enjoy. Like I said, I like animation, like Nausicaa Valley of the Wind or whatever by Miyazaki, the guy who made Spirited Away and stuff. That's a big like aesthetic inspiration on me, and that's what I try to do. I try to fill my head and just myself with all this great imagery and just kind of digest it in my brain. And I feel like that creates an environment where I can also produce like rich storyscapes.
It's so in depth.
Oh yeah, you can go watch it 4 or 5 different times and notice new details that you totally completely missed.
Yeah, and that's from any of those Studio Ghibli
Yeah, Tales
films.
from Earthsea was another one that he did. I read those books as a child, so it's a revisioning of the story. It's just fantastic. Like, I'm glad that it was a revisioning, because, you know, here I am, like, here comes that thing in the plot I know. And it's like, boom, did something different. And
Right.
the same thing, you just get this really nice, like, atmosphere. Like, his films seem so large because of the way he deals with detail and landscapes and perspective. It's just, I mean, wind. There's always wind everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this huge windswept, maybe some type of Dutch Valley. I love seeing Japanese artists do this and other artists from different countries because, you know, like there's a guy who creates games like the Dark Souls series, and he talks about like flying over Europe with his dad on business trips and reading, you know, books about fairy tales and history. So he has no context for these things. So he'd make up stories for them. And that's why you get this really weird, unique thing that kind of borrows from his own folklore and mythology, but it's somewhat rooted in reality, and it gives a surreal quality. And I love things like that. It's almost like augmented reality. Now you have this, you're like, okay, this castle, but what actually I think happened was all these weird shit. And it's like just a really cool way to kind of, I guess, like throw a little bit of seasoning on, you know, the same dish you might have had before, but just present it kind of on its head towards you.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Do you have a favorite food?
I am vegetarian of almost 10 years. Kyle and the band's vegan, so I love vegetables. I'm not one of those preachy ones. I don't make other people not eat meat around me or anything, but
Right.
I really love Italian, Asian food. It's fantastic. I will say this. I believe that Mexican food is the most technologically advanced food in the world because I believe the tortilla is the pinnacle of food technology. It wraps the food up. It's delicious. You can put a tortilla around pretty much anything, any type of sandwich, and it's almost better with the tortilla. So, I mean, you know, I stake my claim there. Mexico has evolved beyond all other humankind technologically with food.
You know what? That's never been brought up, but I kind of
Not that it's a competition, like you said. It's all about appreciating different stories and cultures. But I think we all need to take our hat off that tortillas
Definitely.
are the Judas Priest of food wrapping.
Yes, exactly. It's far better than bread by a long shot.
Absolutely.
What's your preferred media type? Do you buy albums digitally? Do you buy them exclusively on vinyl, cassette, CD?
I honestly collect everything that I want. Sometimes I'll buy everything from a band just so that it like checks off the list in my head. Then I can listen to it on my phone. I can listen to it on my turntables. I even had a vehicle with a tape deck for a while. So the cassette thing, that's really when that hammered home. So I grew up with cassettes and I was like, man, these aren't that great. But then like being able to listen to an analog format and not spend an arm and a leg is very, very useful. Especially nowadays. Like I think Sony dropped the Walkman like copyright because they thought tapes were gone. So you can buy like a Chinese knockoff, really high quality tape player. It's like $3 online and then just plug it into your aux in your car and there you go. Like if we're just talking about being bootleg music.
Right.
Listeners, you know, being broke when you're young. And, but I would say vinyl. I love vinyl. It's easy to say that because this was the first year in modern history where it outsold CDs. Really cool to see that coming back. You know, there's a interesting interview with Slash where they're like, hey, Slash, what do you think about rock and roll? Is it cool anymore, man? He was like, pretty neat. He's like, I can go dig through the stacks and sometimes people don't recognize me. And he goes to shows and he knows that the people are there to really enjoy the music and collect the music for fun and not just, I guess, to be seen. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love it all. I love collecting, like, when you get, like, a cool cassette and you fold open the J card and there's, like, a poster. Or even, like, yeah, if you're lucky enough to catch one in a vinyl or something, like, that's the coolest, like, bonus. You, like, open it up, you're like, oh, sick, and then you thumbtack it to your wall.
Definitely. You know, there was something interesting. I bought a vinyl online, and, you know, I'm a wrestling nerd and shit, too. So,
yeah.
It was a WWE vinyl.
Was it Hulksters in the House?
No, actually, it was it was Triple H vinyl, but because they just partnered with the Motorhead camp.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and released a bunch of new shirts. Yeah. They released some a vinyl of it, and I'm sitting there.
Triple H actually spoke at his funeral.
They
were apparently very good friends. Yeah,
yeah.
R.I.P. Lemmy.
Definitely. But the cool thing about it was, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, this is awesome because I just figured it was going to be like a 12-inch single of, you know, like the game, you know, the Motorhead tune that they did for his theme. But no, there was a poster in there, and I was putting back, and it was gatefold. And I'm usually not a big fan of gatefold vinyl because,
Really?
well, it's because like the jacket never wants to go back in.
Oh yeah, of course.
The sleeve never wants to go back in the jacket. And I'm just like,
I like to order the flappy ones for those. Like, you can go to record stores, get the ones with the little sticky flaps on the outside. So
okay.
I just buy a mess of those and then don't put it back in the original one. I just put it in the new one.
Understandable.
But continue. I interrupted.
No,
a little
all
tip
good.
there. I like those. Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck? Why isn't this going back in? And then I sit there and I was like, I look in the sleeve and there was a patch in there too that was unadvertised.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I'm like, fuck.
You're like, bonus.
Yeah.
This is going on my vest or jacket.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I'm totally a patch hound, But it was a pretty cool experience, that it's always like and there was a poster and there was the patch and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool, So I really dig when bands do that.
Definitely. So I'm going to ask you the question now.
Sure.
Since you're a wrestling guy.
Okay.
It's like the old toss up. People will be like, I guess Metallica and Megadeth, except these two dudes never collaborated. Who do you like better? Hulk Hogan or Macho Man Randy Savage?
Ooh, see, that's a tough one there.
I know, that's why I asked it.
I would have to probably say Randy Savage.
Fuck yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Because the cream always
He's
rises
fucking
to the
goat.
top. Yeah. No, Randy Savage.
Brother.
Right. Randy Savage because several different reasons, he and his family did run a outlaw promotion in Kentucky for a long time. ICW. The dude was a St. Louis Cardinal, baseball player.
Yeah.
So.
I'd like to throw out there too, because I know a lot of wrestling fans, they get all twisted up with this one unless they're hard one camp or the other. But if we just look at discography-wise, Macho Man's album destroyed Hulk Hogan's album, and his diss track was amazing. Hulkster's
right.
in the house. I remember FYE going out of business, and me and my knucklehead friends were like, I don't know, at the mall doing dumb shit. And I look over, and they've got this huge rack of cassettes that they'd probably had since the 80s. They're going out of business finally because the internet destroyed all music stores. And they're like, cassettes, 5 for $1. So we're just going through it. And I found like I think a cassette of Paranoid, which is cool, and like a couple other like cool metal ones I wanted to listen to. I think like a Megadeth tape, and I pull out Hulkster's in the House. Oh, also a weird one from like Adam West's Batman. It was like a patriotic big band thing, like all playing John Philip Sousa with like Batman and Robin talking over it. It's fucking weird. We used to get really fucking stoned and listen to this shit. So, holy hole in donut, Batman! These stars and stripes are forever, my caped crusading friend. And we're like, what the fuck was this world?
I need to find a copy of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hulkster's, it's like, it was Hulk Hogan and the Traveling Boot Band, and it was just so fucking bad. But like, almost in a good way, especially, I'm going to throw this out there. Ryghar officially endorses, if you're going to listen to it, listen to Beach Patrol. And then there's even like a bummer track he wrote for like, he had like a Make-A-Wish kid that he wrote a track for who like passed away. And it's like sweet to think about, but then to have Hulk Hogan write you a power ballad, and it's even worse because the whole thing, he's just kind of like patting himself on the back as like a Hulkamaniac in heaven or something like that.
Ooh,
it's like total. He's totally like throwing himself a fucking pass deep to like get some fucking sympathy points there. He's like, this kid was a Hulkamaniac. Now he's in heaven, brother.
Oh gosh. I'll try to include I'm sure everything in the world is on YouTube. I'll try to include a link.
But do yourself a favor, as a palate cleanse, listen to Beach Patrol.
Yes,
if that doesn't get your juices stirring, you might need to talk to a doctor.
Oh, I'll include links to both in the comments below.
Excellent. And this is why your fans are there, because you're hitting them with the hard hitting, the facts, the opinions, the things they need. And they need Beach Patrol by Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, it's all good completely. The funny thing is a lot of people would probably think that I would pick Hulk Hogan because I'm a bass player and so is he. But no.
Yeah.
But no.
Macho Man all the way. He's the GOAT.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What is your greatest achievement?
I would say, I think just, I tend not to measure my life by any type of a meter of I guess really success in that sense of like I have achieved this, because of course I'm always unsatisfied with anything when I have a release, and not in a way that I'm embittered towards it, but I'm always like, what's next? What can I do next? But probably just you know, that I can make a comfortable living providing people with music and art. And I mean, my father, he's played music his entire life. He's in his 70s. He was formerly of the Burgundy Express, a band from Seattle. Really great stuff. Like he played out in Waikiki with them. And you know,
Nice.
towards the end of his life, he ended up having to do. He's not dead or anything. He's just old as shit. Like I mean, he still gigs every now and again with his buddies. They'll get up there, you know, drink a couple beers, go play somewhere. I mean, he's even been hired for holiday parties because they play like old soul and R&B. Not this band, the Burgundy Express. They're long gone, but the groups he plays with now. But the thing was, is when I told him I wanted to play music when I was younger, he's like, I think that's really cool. And I mean, as your dad, I'm proud, but he's like, learn a trade. Because I've slept in cardboard boxes on the side of the road. And, you know, me and my friends and the ones who are really all about it, we know the 80s are gone. We're never going to make $1 million doing this. But to make a comfortable living, you know, making people happy, doing what you love, that's fucking awesome, man. So I would say that I get to be a real-ass barbarian every fucking day. I don't have to put on a suit and tie, not that I knock people who do, and, like, wear normie clothes. I could be a fucking wild animal. And unless the state of Texas deems otherwise and locks me up, I could do whatever the fuck I want. So that's my greatest accomplishment, being everything my 13-year-old mind set out to be.
And that's what it's all about right there. You know, I think that's great, though. You know, it's one of those things where you're doing what you want, which is awesome. And that in itself is a great accomplishment.
It's a very special kind of dignity and freedom that, you know, like I said, it won't afford you all the luxuries in life, but it's something you can truly love and say that is yours. So anybody, I would say, if there's any cool kids out there and they want to do some stuff, like, go for it. Tell everybody to suck your whatever you want them to suck and fucking get out there and make it, man. Like, fake it till you make it. Like, write that song, write that album, you know, paint that thing, write a rap album, put it out there, network, meet other people who are driven, and make the music. You know, you get to create something that I think is really cool in a lot of philosophical and even religious origins, not mainly many Western traditions and religions that people are familiar with, but is like the need to create, the compulsion to create is within us all, as well as it's our birthright. You know, what did Carl Sagan say? We're the universe experiencing itself. Why wouldn't we create worlds, create things, build towers, build songs, paint the images that stop our hearts and bring joy to everyone? You know, why wouldn't you do these things?
Very much indeed. So I've got one more question, but before we get to that,
Absolutely.
How can everybody get a hold of you, booking wise? Where can they purchase music? You know, tell everybody out there how to do that.
Okay, right now we've got our single off the upcoming album, Thermesia Eternal. It's called In a Land Where the Sun Never Sleeps. It's about an ancient Lich King beyond legend, who the characters in the Silver Company, which is my band's called Ryghar, but we are the Silver Company, have sworn undying thirst for vengeance against. And you can find this on our Bandcamp for download. It'll be available to watch our lyric video on the YouTube channel, as well as the New Wave of True Heavy Metal album full channel, as well as if you follow us on Instagram, we're always posting updates, and, you know, drop a line. Like, we're always down to talk, and you'll be hearing a lot of details about our upcoming release here in October and November, when we actually gear up until the release date this winter. So you can definitely find us on Bandcamp, YouTube, Instagram. I think the only thing I don't know how to work is like Twitter. I don't think MySpace is a thing anymore. JD runs a Facebook, but you just check it out. We're out there, and holler at us.
Definitely. The links will be there below. You can click on those wherever you're listening right now. There will be a big, long, drawn out thing of all the sponsors of the show, and thank you to all of them, as well as Rygar's links.
Hey, man, thanks for having us here.
Thank you.
Definite pleasure. And yeah, I mean, I love the show personally, you know, and if you're listening, make sure you go and check out some of his back episodes. There's some really, really talented people from my neck in the woods and all over the world come and talk about some really cool stuff. So
definitely, dude. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for coming on the show. So the morbid question is, how would you like to die?
With my sword in my hand. looking my enemy in the eye. Either that or like some sort of like, I always thought it'd be really funny to like, maybe after you're dead, like at your funeral, like at the last second, just you're loaded full of C4 and they don't see the wire attached and like some sort of catapult or a trebuchet, I'm not super familiar with siege weapons, launches you into the air like over a lake or something and then just boom, atomized.
Wow.
And like everyone just starts throwing up everywhere because they can't handle it. And then like, I don't know, Steel Panther starts playing or something ridiculous and it just totally traumatizes and fucks people up, but now they're not grieving anymore. So you're welcome, all 5 people who'd go to my funeral.
Oh, come on now.
I'm just joking. But yeah, I don't know. I've also heard drowning's not so bad.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can handle
it's
that.
Like a weird, peaceful thing. I almost drowned when I was a kid, and it was really weird. I was just like started sinking, and I was like, I can't breathe water. Well, I guess this is where I die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's almost like Oregon Trail.
Yeah, it was like definitely. Well, I guess speaking of Oregon Trail, it's a lot better than dying of dysentery.
Oh, right.
That just sounds terrible. I think that's when you diarrhea so hard that like all the microbes are gone out of your body and you just die, right?
I believe so.
Just literally shitting your soul out.
Right.
It's fucking brutal, man.
The bloody flux, I believe it was called at one time.
Yeah, I mean, shit, that already right there sounds like some insano tech death porn grind album.
Right.
Like I can almost read the unreadable scratchy writing. It's like dysentery, Oregon Trail of bloody shit.
Oh, that's
man. I'm just full of great ideas tonight.
I know,
feel free,
right?
Anybody who's gonna make these things into reality, do it. Just make sure you hit me up because I want to listen to it and I don't know, throw me in the special thanks and I get free T-shirts. I don't want the dysentery one though.
That's gonna be the next Metal Forge shirt.
It's just Metal Forge Radio. It'll give you dysentery.
Right. Oh my gosh.
God.
Dude, thank you so much. So,
my pleasure, man.
What are we going to debut today? What's the name of the song?
Well, you're listening to In the Land Where the Sun Never Sleeps, but the exclusive one that you get to hear right here on Metal Forge, it's called The Witching Blade.
All
and
right.
It's about Ryghar claiming the head of the warlock who betrayed his brother, the king of Thermesia, sacrificed them to the unspeakable horrors of the 12 Lich Kings of the Night.
And here it is now.
Castle Gate, standing Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
Musicians, rejoice! Confused with all the modern and technical pedalboard selections? Look no further. Kentucky Hot Brown Pedalboards offer their homemade wooden and custom pedalboards for guitarists and bassists alike. Established in 2013, KYHBPB has helped support not only the local Louisville scene, but a large array of big and small players from across the entire country. More info can be found at KentuckyPedalboards.com.